Hey everybody. So I have seen a lot of videos on some of the backyard chicken pages that I follow. And with that, I want to share a story with you guys. So last year, I started raising chickens, around March. Around March it started. And at this time last year, I had two dogs. One was a purebred chocolate lab. She was about 10 years old. And the other is a German Shepherd Rottweiler mix. Um, and a few weeks into having these chickens, I just had I got those wooden nesting boxes or brooder boxes, for baby chicks from Tractor Supply. I got two of them and I combined them together, and then I just took a really tall screen for one of my living room windows and I laid that over the top because it was the perfect length and everything. So I figured, why not? And overall, Charlie, my chocolate lab, had done really well. So I wasn't worried. I didn't think I had anything to worry about. I thought the screen was enough. And I was wrong. One day I got home from taking the kids to school and I had 6 chicks left out of the 18 that was in that box. Most of them I couldn't find the bodies for, and the other half of them were laying dead in the brooder. And the ones that were still alive were scared shitless. They wouldn't come out from underneath the brooder plate. So then I started doing some really extensive training with my dog to try and get her, and my husband did a lot of it too, probably more than I did, honestly, because, well, I'm working, I can't be home all the time, but he is a stay-at-home dad, so he's been very, very helpful in a lot of these things. I don't want him to go unnoticed here, but so we had to do a lot of extensive training with this dog, because after she ate chickens the first time, it seemed to be all she wanted after that. And so we got more chickens, we got more baby chicks. We started, putting Charlie back in the kennel when we had to leave the house, or we'd hook her up to a leash up against, up to the door so she could at least still get to her food and water dish and such, but she couldn't actually get all the way to the baby chicks. And things were going fine, she was staying away from them, so on and so forth. The chicks got old enough, we replenished, and we were able to move them out to the coop. We moved them out to the coop, and I wanted them to be free range, but I couldn't with my dog, okay? So I built a chicken tunnel that went from the back of my chicken coop and goes all the way over to my big fenced in area. So I bought those 3-foot fence posts, and I got wire fencing to go all the way down the side, and then over the top I did a chicken wire, so that way it was fully enclosed. And one day Charlie broke into that chicken tunnel, and at this point in time my birds were full grown. My chickens were full grown. They were laying eggs at this point, guys. And Charlie broke into that chicken tunnel and she ate 5 chickens whole. And after this accident happened, it didn't matter what kind of training we did. She would do everything in her power to get to those chickens to eat them. And I don't know if it was partially because she was a full lab, so she was a bird dog, or if it was because she was 10 years old, so training her seemed almost ridiculous. But after eating all these chickens, guys, she continually just kept losing weight. And it had gotten to a point where she literally didn't want to eat anything but chickens. She was skin and bone by the time she passed away. And she wouldn't even eat enough regular dog food to sustain herself. And she had even attacked the chickens again the day that she ended up passing away. Um, and she had gotten aggressive with my son. She had ate quite a few more chickens whole, and at this point, because she had also lost so much weight, she was skin and bone, and she literally won't eat anything than chickens. We had to make the tough decision to have her put down. So that was, in the end, the step that we took. And I'm aware that some of you may not agree with that decision, and I respect that, but please don't show me hate here, okay? Please be kind, because it was not an easy situation. So this year, I decided to make sure I would do things differently. I do not have issues with my other dog eating chicks at all, or chickens for that matter. I haven't had an issue with her at all. And she's a 2-year-old German Shepherd Rottweiler mix. Let me backtrack a little. I did have one issue with her eating chicks after Charlie had multiple times last year. But the extensive training with Shelby really made a big difference, and she's actually quite helpful. When chickens do get loose, Shelby is very helpful chasing the chickens in. She's a good farm dog. You know, we were able to train her, and the training clicked and things worked with her. You know, the decision that we made was really, really tough with Charlie, but that night when my son was trying to help chase her out, this dog actually tried to run after him and was growling and barking and getting aggressive towards him. You know, so at that point, not only was she attacking my chickens and eating my chickens, but she was now starting to show aggression towards my children. So I had to make that decision. So this year I made sure I did things differently, and I made sure that things were more secure and could not be broken into as easily this year. I converted a dog kennel into a brooder this year. I zip tied cardboard all around the edges that go about a foot up. You know, I do have extra fencing, small fencing that I can put around if I have any issues. However, my chickens have not been able to get, or my baby chicks have not been able to actually get high enough to escape with the modifications that I've made with this kennel. It's more durable, it's stronger, you know, and so I just want to say that I really highly recommend that if you have dogs and you are looking into getting baby chickens and you know that they're going to be in the house, make sure that you find a setup that is strong enough to keep out your dog. Because what I should have done, but I didn't do, is I should have created a stronger setup and then started training my dogs to know that they are our friends and they're not food the minute that I got them. You know, I just kind of made the assumption that my dogs won't do that. They're great with my cats. They're great with my kids. Why would they do that? I just made the assumption, and I shouldn't have done that. So my piece of advice to anybody out there who has dogs and has chickens, please do not think I'm telling you to get rid of your dogs. But do start training with them right away, especially if you're new to the chicken farming life like I was. Start training and make sure that you have a spot that is secure and sturdy enough for your chicks, and that will also keep your dogs out while you're doing the training. And this way, by the time your chicks do go out to the chicken coop, your dogs will be trained to more or less herd them and not try and eat them. And that way you can create that balance with all of your animals and make things easier, because the decision that I had to make, it broke my heart. You know, I'd had that dog since she was just a puppy, and she was the first pet that I had gotten as a single adult. And so she had a really deep place in my heart, and it wasn't an easy decision to make. And I don't want to have to see anybody else go through dealing with that decision, but I recently also saw a post about somebody else who dealt with this same struggle. Not as far to an extent as mine, you know, their dog didn't end up getting sick or anything, but their dog did eat some chicks. And so, you know, that's never an easy thing to take. It's never easy to deal with. You love your dogs, you also love your chicks. You know, you love the homestead that you're building, and when there's issues and conflicts between two of the things that you love the most, it makes your decisions very difficult to make, and it leaves a sore in your heart that you never expected to have. And so anybody that's new to chicken farming, anybody that has animals and they're getting ready to get baby chicks, you know, take precautions and consider the fact that what you don't expect to happen can and might happen. But if you're diligent and you take the right precautions right off the bat and you start the training and you don't make the assumptions that I did on my first go around, there should be a lot of things you wouldn't have to worry about. And so that is my first piece of advice that I want to give everybody out there who's looking at starting a little chicken farm and you have other animals. Make sure that you look outside the box and prepare for all the possibilities, because you will need it. You know, I learned the hard way that unfortunately it's not just outside animals that would be the predators. Sometimes it could be one of your own. And had I started training with Charlie right away, maybe I could have prevented this. Had I made sure that I had a stronger setup for my baby chicks, maybe I could have prevented this. But I also didn't know it was going to happen. It was a learning experience. I learned from my own mistakes. Maybe some of you can learn from my mistakes rather than having to go through my experience, because I wouldn't wish it on anyone. It was painful on my heart when that had to happen. So I just wanted to share that with everybody. Yeah, that's all I got for now. So until next time, guys, I'll see you later.